So I'm John Paul. I've been living in Porto 18 months, nearly 18 months now. My partner Katie got a job for Farfetch in November 2020, and we took the leap and moved to Porto. Obviously, a difficult time for the world at that point, but almost instantly, despite restrictions, fell in love with Porto. So today I'll give you an overview of two companies I'm involved with that I manage from Porto, but are actually based in Dublin. The first one I actually spoke about at a previous event in Lisbon. It's Farmony, which we're an ag tech startup. We focus on vertical farming, so growing up in layers. The opportunity being to grow produce, so your herbs and leafy greens, 365 days a year, pesticide-free, hyper-local. In Ireland, we import over €1 billion worth of fruit and veg a year. We import our herbs from Israel and Kenya, and the opportunity that Farmony offers is to grow locally. So already we have 5 quite large vertical farms in Ireland that are replacing imports and producing basil locally, pesticide-free for both the food service channel and also retail. So that's Farmony. As I said, I spoke a little about Farmony in more detail in Lisbon. It's a farming company, but I feel like Porto is more edgy, more rock and roll, so I saved MusicMaker for the presentation today. So MusicMaker, or MM. Probably 60% of our business comes from retail and our famous store in Dublin city centre on Exchequer Street. And other parts of our business are across distribution. We distribute products to all the other music stores in the country. We have an e-commerce presence. We organise events. We have logistics. We represent a couple of record labels from the States, and we do logistics across Europe for them. And actually, through COVID, the education business to schools actually went through the roof. So that's a very strong part of our business now. So MusicMaker, I've been the general manager of this company for the last 15 years, but I've been going to MusicMaker for a lot longer than that. So as a teenager growing up on the west coast of Ireland, my parents would bring me up to the capital city, or what we call the Big Smoke, Dublin, and I always wanted to go into MusicMaker. And you'd walk through the doors, up these granite stairs, you'd open the door, which had a guitar neck handle, and you'd walk through, and you'd just be wowed about all the electric guitars that were on display. It's what dreams are made of. In 2016, we became the best specialist store in Ireland, voted for by readers and a judging panel from the Irish Times. And Glenn Hansard, who an Oscar winner, described MusicMaker as a vital artery in the Dublin music scene. Now, when I was going to MusicMaker growing up, it was all about wow, but I always felt quite intimidated when I walked through the doors. And I think this is a cultural thing with music stores globally. When you walk in, you inevitably, they're almost off-grid from a retail point of view. They're dark, they're edgy. Perhaps you have musicians that are a little disinterested in their day job and always dreaming about their gigs at night. So when you pick up a guitar, you might feel a little bit intimidated, and inevitably the salesperson might take that guitar and play some crazy lick, and then you just don't want to go near that guitar again. So when I took over MusicMaker, a really key focus for me was customer experience and making sure that we're a welcoming store, no matter who you are, whether you're a celebrity, and we've been lucky enough to have various celebrities come through our doors over the years, from Debbie Harry and Blondie, the Coldplay, U2, but everyone is equal in our eyes, whether you're a starter, a 7-year-old kid growing up and dreaming of being a rock star, or whether you're an established musician, some of the leading musicians in Ireland, globally like Hozier. Everyone's equal from MusicMaker's point of view. This is our old building. Those of you familiar with Ghostbusters, it's essentially like Ghostbusters. So it's 3 floors of retail. Down here, there's a basement, ground floor and first floor, and then the other 2 floors are for storage. So what makes us different? I suppose the big competition for MusicMaker is no longer domestic competition. It's European competition through e-commerce. A lot of very large German e-tailers do a lot of business into Ireland. So we set about differentiating ourselves and what makes us different. And the key differentiating factor for MusicMaker is without doubt our staff. It's about our passion, it's about our history, it's what we stand for within music and the musician community in Dublin. And through all our social media, of which we've got a significant following, we try in all our posts to show how we're different. So I picked a couple of examples here. Smiley, happy staff. Ronan, our drum department manager. James, our loud and crazy electric guitar manager. And Brendan, who is our acoustic department specialist. Pointing out Brendan, who's holding here a guitar manufactured in Braga. So last year, we would have previously taken containers of musical instruments from China. But since moving here, I became aware of a manufacturer here in Braga. So we started buying product that would have otherwise been bought in China. We started buying here from Braga. So we had our first shipment, but we'll probably do in excess of 30,000 euros worth of Portuguese instruments in MusicMaker this year, and we'll hope to expand that. As I mentioned, we won Best Specialist Store in 2016. And by reading any of our reviews, we're one of the top-rated independent retailers in Ireland. I picked some more recent reviews, and one in particular, which is from a customer, David Marshall, who came in to buy a €4,500 acoustic guitar, but was amazed by how we served, the attention we gave an 8-year-old girl and her parents who was starting out. It was equal. So I just thought it was a really good example for me to show this is what we stand for. So whether you're spending $5,000 on an acoustic guitar or you're an 8-year-old starting out, everyone's equal in our eyes. Another area that we differentiate ourselves is in being creative in our events that we hold. So there was a Facebook SME case study that focused on MusicMaker, and it was sent out to all SMEs across Europe. And it focused on our MusicMaker sale, which is a one-day event every year that we hold. But why it was attractive to Facebook was how we managed that through social media. So if you come to Dublin on the day of a MusicMaker event, you'll see queues around the corner, around the city, with people camping out, waiting for the doors to open in MusicMaker. So another event that we launched just pre-COVID and we hope to relaunch is our beer and gear evenings, where we have our own MusicMaker beer and we invite customers in and we discuss instruments and also famous albums, and we try and tie together this album was played using these guitars and so on. Again, just more emphasis on how important our staff are and including our staff as the key differentiating factor for MusicMaker. So probably the more important part of the presentation is how and why Porto. So yes, my girlfriend got a job for Farfetch and we moved. And Luke, a close friend from Porto, said that when I moved here, there's one phrase that's kind of important, you know, in the middle of COVID, and that is Novo Mundo. So he said, you can walk anywhere in Porto with your mask on, and when you're walking down the street, you can go, Novo Mundo. I think he's absolutely right, because through COVID, I think we all looked at ourselves and our businesses and how we did business, and you do realize it is a new world, and it's important to look at things completely differently. And if you told me 18 months ago that I would not be in MusicMaker and be over in Porto and that I was going to be sent over by the owner away from MusicMaker, I'd say that can't happen. You know, I can't manage. Like I am MusicMaker. You know, I'm the guy that drives the company. I'm the guy that's passionate. You know, and I would have thought that that was the case. But I think if you talk to other general managers of retail stores, they'd say, no, you can't take me out of the retail store. I'm too important, you know? Like, it'd be a nervousness. Whereas I think good management and good leadership is about knowing that if you step back, that the company does just as well with you not in situ in that location. And I think that's what I've proven in my 18 months here. is that by stepping back and by delegating, and of course my staff were probably somewhat alarmed that I was going to make this move, but not only do I delegate from a process and roles and responsibilities, what's most important is that I delegate passion, that I delegate leadership, and that I delegate the roadmap that I see for MusicMaker, and that they take that on. So essentially, the guys in MusicMaker now run MusicMaker. And while initially I would get phone calls and I'd have a long conversations about we should do this or that, now I just get phone calls and it's like, yes, do it. Yes, do it. So I think that shows that we've made real progress. In terms of, the reality of working remotely is that I'm still very much involved. So trust is key. It's important that I trust my staff, that my staff trust me, and that the owner trusts me. And the second element that's been critically important is that the IT infrastructure is in place to allow me to do this. So while I say I'm not there, I'm actually more there than I was. I can see on a live, I've got live reporting, cloud-based, in terms of every sale, every item sold. I know the margin. I sit at my desk around the corner from here, and I can see live cameras of the shop. We've got a WhatsApp group at work, and anything I see that I'm not entirely pleased with, I just drop into WhatsApp, we explain it, and we move on. So my time in Porto has been incredible. This is an amazing city. In Dublin, I was commuting 1 hour a day, 2 hours a day, 1 hour to MusicMaker, 1 hour back. And I've taken that time back. So it works out at about 40 hours per week that I now have. And I gave myself a commitment that if I had 40 hours extra a week, I'm going to do something productive with that. So I tried to exercise more. I tried to, learn more through audiobooks. So as of today, I've run 452 consecutive 5Ks since January 2020. Now, you might be saying you would have expected I'd be a bit skinnier, but that's what Franceschina's and Superboc does, okay? But, so, as I say, it's an amazing city, and some of those runs, 5K takes you all around this amazing city. And one of my favorite runs has been to run from Matosinhos into Foz's 5K, and then from Foz into town is another 5K. So, in one of the first runs, I ran 5K to Foz. I stopped at a coffee and I said, I'll get a coffee. And I took out my card and I was like, I didn't have any cash, so I used a card. And I said to the guy, is it okay if I use card? And he said, it is, but it's a €5 minimum spend. Not entirely surprising. So I said, no problem. I'll have a coffee and I'll have nata. And I gave him my card. And he said, no, that's 110. And I said, okay, no problem. I'll have a coffee and I'll have an oat milk, 50 cent in Dublin, coffee, oat milk, and a nata, and a bottle of water. And I gave him my card. He said, no, that's 250. So I said, okay, no problem. So I'll have the coffee, I'll have the oat milk, I'll have the water, I'll have a toasted sandwich. And I handed him my card. And he said, well, it's 480, and then it was fine. But I took away all my stuff. And I sat on a seat just there at Foz, and the Atlantic Ocean is crashing against. The waves are crashing. And I'm thinking to myself, my God, 18 months ago, I would have been in a car in rush hour traffic in Dublin, stuck on my way to work. I would have been on a train, stressed out inevitably, and here I am, or possibly listening to a Calm app, Like the world is all listening to these different mindfulness apps. So I might have been listening to Calm, and I might have been listening to a soundscape of the Atlantic Ocean crashing somewhere against things. I'm going, I have this. It's sunny. I have the Atlantic crashing here in front of me. In this amazing city, I'm going to finish my coffee and I'm going to walk, and I walk along the Douro. I see these amazing bridges, and then I'm going to do my work fresh-headed into my day, really focused. And then at the end of the day, I'm going to watch a Champions League game in Dragao. It is an incredible city. And I was saying to some friends earlier on, Ryanair is flying 6 flights a day, 6 flights a week into Porto. And these tourists are going to be different tourists. These are tourists that have been locked up for 2 years. They're going to have the same insights into their own development and personal development, and they're going to know that they can work remotely. So these people are going to have a completely different view of what would normally be a 3 or 4 day weekend in Porto, and they're going to go, this place is incredible. There's a steward on a Ryanair flight that every time I'm on it, he says that this is welcome to the most incredible city in the world. And you think, come on. But it is. And it's not that I haven't seen other cities. I've seen some of the main capitals and I've visited the world and been lucky to travel. But this is something different. And it's not always about the cost of living. It's about, the work-life balance, which is a life-work balance when you're in Porto. It's about the people are friendlier. The architecture is incredible. The weather is fantastic. So I think it's got to be such an incredibly exciting time for the city, and where other companies are obviously drawing in employment. I think a lot of people who are remote workers are going to bring an awful lot to the city too. So thank you for having me in Porto. I look forward to calling this place my home, and thanks for the presentation and the opportunity.